Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Gardening with 1B and Zone 5B. My name is Janelle, and I'm here to help take the intimidation out of gardening. Today is Sunday, June 8th, and I thought I would just kind of walk around the yard and show you the different perennials that I have here. We'll just maybe do a couple videos throughout the summer just to show the different phases of plants coming and going. Perennials are a type of a plant that come back year after year after year, unless you have some that succumb to winter kill. And I did have 2 lavender plants that succumbed to winter kill this last winter. We'll talk about that later. Right now I'm in my backyard down by the creek. I just fed the ducks. They should be showing up here pretty soon. But I just thought I'd walk around and let's take a little tour here. Mainly down here it's just pretty much hostas. So since my backyard is wooded, I choose hostas that have white in them. Just because when it's shaded, the white just seems to stand out really, really nice. This is one of my favorite ones right here. I just like the sage colored green part and then that creamy middle. I just think that's really pretty. This is just one plant. And it's always a good idea to divide your hostas every couple years just to keep them healthy. This is a real common variety, but this again is just one plant. This here is a really cool one. It's got all sorts of little curls on the leaves. And then here's just a regular standard hosta, nothing too special. And while we're down here, we're going to go visit the currant bush just to see how our berries are developing. If you remember in a past video, these little, I called them chains of blossoms. They were a lime colored blossom, and now you can see that there's berries developing. So that's a really good sign. Again, I just have hostas here, hostas here by the compost heap, and then over in this area here, you can kind of see how it's shadowy, but the white really does make the plant stand out. I just like the way that looks with the white. White is kind of an underrated color in a yard, especially when you have shade involved. That's one plant. And I divided this one and this one last year. So you can see it really didn't do much. A few years ago, I just planted some random ferns that I picked up at the store. I think the bag had maybe 6 ferns, but they do spread out. And I was just looking to get things that will anchor the soil on this hill. And then over here, these are elderberries. I'm not sure how much they're going to produce this year. So that's pretty much it right here down below the hill by the creek. So here we are behind the cyclone fence. So this is kind of facing north. It's kind of shady. This here is a Solomon seal, and it does have medicinal purposes. I have one here and then one on the other side of the gate there. We'll walk over there in a little bit. So it's got kind of a light fragrance to that flower also. Right here is, well, this is its second year, Bleeding Heart, that I planted from bare root. This is plantain, and that is plantain. And then in this area here and in this area here, I planted clover and a mixed packet of wildflower seeds that work gave each one of us for Earth Day. So I threw those in the ground. Here I have some peonies, or peonies, I've heard them pronounced also. Now last year I did not get any flowers at all. The bushes were nice and healthy, but I never got any flowers. And this year I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's not impressive, but maybe it's just on the rebound here now too. Right now you can kind of see there's some ants on here, and that means that it's going to get ready to open. Now, funny story, when I was little, my grandma's birth flower is peony for the month of June, I believe, so we always took walks out by the peonies. I shouldn't say always, but when we were there in June, we always took walks out by the peonies, and there was always ants on them. I'm like, how come there's ants on there, Grandma? And she said, well, the ants have to be on the bulb, and then eventually it tickles it enough, and the flower bursts open laughing. So as a little kid, yeah, okay, that makes sense, of course. But it's actually because there's a sweetness to the bud, and that attracts the ants. Back here's a compost heap with my 2 lavender from Winter Kill. Bummer. And then this here is just a big patch of Lily of the Valley. And then we're going to go right behind the house here real quick. So here we have another big patch of Solomon seal. And this is actually pretty easy to manage. It's not one of these that throws off runner type roots that it spreads. You could just kind of dig it out and divide it. It's pretty easy. And I would have to look up the medicinal purposes. I don't want to misquote you right now, so I don't want to lead you down the wrong path. This here is a hosta. This here is a hukra or coral bell. That's another word for it. This is a red astilbe. Here is another 2-year-old bleeding heart. I do have some annuals like impatient and coleus back here. This here is lady's mantle. It gets like a lime green flower. This here is going to be either a pink or a white astilbe. I can't remember which it is. Another little impatient. Oh, it's thundering. Another little coleus. This is a really nice little hosta. I like this one just because of the curl on the leaves. That's normal. I threw some eggshells around here just to kind of help keep the snails away. Here is another astilbe. I think this one's going to be pink. I've got columbine, and I saw that there were 2 columbines down here also. We've got one here and one here. Columbine, they do reseed. They need sunlight to germinate. So if you're ever buying columbine seeds, sprinkle them on the top. If you put soil on them, they're not going to germinate. Here's a white bleeding heart. And kind of the cool thing is that when I buy my bleeding hearts, I buy them as bare root. So there's usually 2 or 3 in the bag. I've only ever bought the pink because I never find the white. But one time there was a white one mixed in. Way to go, quality control. Here's another astilbe, another astilbe, a couple more lady's mantle, another astilbe. This is Virginia bluebell, hosta, and then here's some more Solomon seal. So that kind of takes care of it right back here, other than more lily of the valley. Then I've got this huge hosta here, and then there's one buried in here. And if it doesn't have white on, it's hard to see, so I should have had one more here, so I'm thinking that there was some winter kill, but I do have an extra one in a pot, so I'll just dig it in. So and then we've got the little snowball bush. I really don't know what the proper name of it is. My grandparents had these by their porch, and we just called them snowball bushes as kids. And they're kind of like in their peak right now. So, and there's one more lilac there. So that sums it up for back here. So let's go on to the next part. When I first bought the house, there was a tire sandbox here that for years entertained my niece and nephew and the neighbor kid. So that's kind of a fun piece. But, they grew out of that, so I got rid of it. Right here, this is a white anemone. Now, they do spread, but I feel like they're kind of easy to manage. Oh, there's my chipmunk on the compost heap. This compost heap here, this is all plant clippings, nothing that's diseased and no weeds. So you can see there's a lot of sunflower hulls in there. Oh, there's my little chipmunk. I've got some irises here that have buds. They're getting ready to open. This here is a daylily. I think it's either a salmon color, excuse me, or like a burgundy with orange in the middle. We'll have to wait till that blooms. These aren't really perennials. I'll tell you what though, these are sweet potatoes. And my secret is cover them with garbage cans so the critters don't get them. A little while ago, I was out here and checking on them, and I found one dug up and chewed apart. Totally wrecked my day. So I had to go with the garbage can method. Now, these really aren't perennials, but these tall, wispy things here, that's my garlic. Eventually, I'm going to have 2 raised beds here, but I have to wait for the garlic to be harvested, and then I can put those into place. I've got a couple of lilies. These are the Asiatic lilies, the pink ones that are really, really fragrant. A couple of the last of the tulips. This one here is kind of a cool one. It starts out as yellow, and as it ages, it gets the peach highlights to it. I got that from my aunt and uncle's house before he passed away. He just called me and said, "Hey, Janelle, come over here. Dig out these tulips. Your aunt put these here. I like them, but I won't be here forever. You'll enjoy them." So I did. So I think of them all the time when I see them. So, and then over here, um, again, just hostas with white under the trees. And here's a prime example. This hosta here is hardly noticeable comparing to these. And it looks like I had one die out. Yeah, last year actually I had one die out here. And I don't know why, but I've got 1 or 2 here by the house that I can fill in that spot with. So, and then I just reseeded some lawn, so I'm waiting for that to catch. And then we'll just go behind the garage here. So I've got a bleeding heart that's just kind of starting to fade. You can see those blossoms are fading. Those are still nice and a bright color. These green plants right here, these are Virginia. They get a nice pink flower. This is a Jacob's ladder that I got from a friend of mine. She actually gave me a bunch, and I only have 1 or 2 that have been surviving. This little mass here is a 1-year-old patch of Virginia bluebell, another hosta. Here's another bleeding heart that's starting to fade, and there's another hosta there, and then there's this little guy here. So the thing about hostas too is they seem to be a slug's dream come true. And I read quite a few years ago that if you put crunched up eggshells underneath the hostas, that's too sharp for their bellies, and then they'll leave them alone. So I still have some eggshells left, and I'm going to sprinkle a little, I don't know what you call, a circle of doom for the slugs, just so that they can't get at the hostas. I won't have enough to take care of all the hostas, so I'll have to pick which ones I want to really have no slug damage this year. Also, too, with a bleeding heart, this foliage is going to die back in the next month or so, and then you'll see the hostas much, much better. This pole here is just for the feeder. So that's what I have here behind the house. Now let's go and check out the front. So I was digging and weeding around in here yesterday. I didn't get the job finished. My body just kind of gave out. But this is either a honeysuckle or a trumpet vine, and I still have to go through and trim off the dead stuff yet. I do that each year just to kind of hopefully keep the plant healthy. Under it is a sedum. This here is lemon thyme, and I did transplant some here because this froze out actually over winter too. Lemon thyme used to come all the way around this whole corner, and you can see there's really nothing here. And I also had a huge lavender plant here. This isn't a replacement one, but I had a huge lavender plant here and on the other end, and they both died over winter. And in fall, I thought they looked like they were kind of splitting down the middle in the backside, and I was like, huh, that's not really a good sign. And this spring they weren't coming back, so I was just kind of wiggling the branches to see if they were pliable, and they were just coming off in my fingers. But they do have a lovely flower. These flowers are well worth harvesting. 1 or 2 in a cup of tea is really nice. And of course, they're just a nice fragrance to infuse with an essential oil. I also will sprinkle some on the floor right before I run the vacuum cleaner, and then my vacuum cleaner bag smells nice. These here are fall asters, and then these here with the buds that are coming up, this is a Campanula glomerata, and I think the common term of it is the globe flower. I can't be sure on that. But it'll get a nice dark purple pom-pom kind of ball. Now, this is an area I wanted to work on last summer, but in spring I had torn the intercostal tissue between my ribs on my left side, and I had all I could do to sneeze without crying because that was really painful. And the doctor said, because I thought I actually broke a rib, I had a really bad cold that year, and I thought I might have broke a rib because it was so painful, and the doctor said no, that actually tearing that tissue is more painful and takes longer to heal. And he said, you're going to have that pain probably for 8 to 10 weeks. And he wasn't kidding. I had it all summer long, so that kind of put a halt on anything physical. Right here you may recognize this foliage. This is a Virginia bluebell. No, this is in the south side. It's facing south, and it does not do good here. Now, this one's already starting to die back. You can kind of see the yellowing of the leaves in the center. So it's not that it's sickly, it's just starting to die back. So I want to dig this one up here and move it into a shadier area. I do have a big ant problem this year, and that might be part of the reason why a lot of the lemon thyme didn't come back. But the problem is here and not here. And when I was digging around here, I didn't have ants here. It was only when I was digging around here that they were mad. This here is just dahlia. And here in Wisconsin, we can enjoy them in the summer, but we have to dig them up before winter. That's just vegetables, so we won't talk about that. This is a type of a Lysmachia, I believe, and it's getting ready to flower. It'll have yellow flowers. I have a random lily here. Thank you, critters. This is the tail end of grape hyacinths. So they were like little grape clusters in spring, but when they die back, that's what they look like. This is a creeping phlox that's dying back. Here's a short variety of an allium, but I think this is mugwort, and I had no idea how big it was going to get. This is huge. I'm almost sorry that I put it here, but I'm just kind of waiting for something to die off in the front bed, which we'll visit next, and then I can move that over there. Here's some white allium. I really think alliums are such a cool flower. They're kind of stately. They rise up off of these stalks, and they just produce such a pretty, stately flower. The alliums that I've seen have come in white and purple. And this would be a good time to tell you about Jamie's channel, The Way It Grows. She's in a gardening zone in Indiana. So I think she said she's in zone 6, which is like one zone away from me. And she's got a neat video about allium. So go check hers out. This here is a creeping phlox that's done flowering. But then these are called pinks, and they're getting ready to flower. Here, I have to give these plants like this. I have to give these a little bit more time because I did seed giant marigolds in this area, and marigolds also look like that. So I don't want to pull out things that I've seeded. I've actually, I think this here is a marigold. I don't think these are. And I'm going to give it about another week, but I think I'm going to end up pulling those because I don't think they're the marigolds. I have some tulips that the critters planted, and I'm waiting for those to finish dying back. Tulips, as they age out and stop flowering, they die back like this. So don't think there's anything wrong with your plant. That's natural. And what happens is the leaves are feeding the bulb so that it can produce for next year. So keep that in mind, just so that you don't think that you're failing with planting tulips. Here's my other new lavender plant. This stuff here is a type of a sedum album, and it gets tiny white flowers, and the bees absolutely love it. Here is a creeping phlox with a big anthill in it. Not impressed with that. I am probably going to be making up some borax and sugar a little bit later to sprinkle on my anthills. Oh, I got an ant on my leg. Oh. This here is a pinky winky hydrangea, and I'm a little concerned about it because it's taking so long for it to leaf out. It's leafing out though, but I'm just going to have to wait and see. I might have to replace that, and I hope I don't because it wasn't cheap, but it's so pretty. It flowers in fall. This here plant is a foxtail clover, and it gets like a purple plume kind of a flower, maybe about the size of my thumb. So another dahlia. Here's another foxtail clover right here. This is a coneflower. I have a bunch of random little Johnny jump ups or violas. I never pull those out. I like those. This is a centaurea plant. I believe the variety is called Montana, and some people call these perennial bachelor buttons. A couple more lilies, and that pretty much does it here for the front. So now let's go check out the big bed. So this is my main flower bed in the front, and it's horseshoe shaped. And the reason I did that is so that I can work on it from both sides without trampling everything down like a buffalo. This bed I put in the very first year that I moved here. From the road, it looks like it's a full mounded bed. So it's kind of one of those optical illusions. And we'll just start here on the end. Some columbine here, and I think Jamie's got an entire video about her columbine, or she's got a good portion of a video in her library of her columbine. She's got all sorts of really cool varieties. If I think of it, I'll try to look up those videos and put them in my description for you so that you can just click on them and go to her channel. This is a fall aster. It'll get a mauve flower with a pink center. This is the same one that's up front by the house. These here are lilies. The variety I believe is called Lollipop. And the only disappointing thing about this variety is it flowers for about a day or two, and then that's it. So, seemed like a good idea at the time. They get like a white lily with pink tips. This here is just a cool sedum. These are creeping phlox. My shadow. I believe this is a butterfly bush. Here's a variety of pinks that are already opened, and I think these opened already because they're out in the sun more so. Here is garlic. I just look for any open space that I have to plant garlic because I like it so much. This here is a ranunculus that I started in the house over winter. This would be a new liatris. This is a huckleberry. First time planting that. This is actually an annual, but it's a berry producer. Right here is another dahlia that I wintered. Another lily. I think this might be the Easter lily. And for those of you who don't know, an Easter lily is in the lily family. So you can plant those outside in the soil after Easter, when your soil warms up enough. This here is something called Lady Phacelia. And I winter sowed these. It's just kind of a nice little stately plant with a nice, stalk, and then it gets the flowers. But I do believe that's an annual. I do put annuals in my perennial bed just so that there's always something blooming. This is an autumn joy sedum, so it gets a mauve flower in fall. Here's another liatris, another ranunculus, more garlic, and I've been watching for garlic scapes. This is called blue fescue, and it's just an ornamental grass. Wait for that car truck thing. There we go. This here is another dahlia. Here are some more of the Virginia that I showed you from behind the garage. These here are mini irises. Here's a dahlia that opened. This dahlia is called Sweetheart, and it came in a bag of bulbs. I think this was in my bag of bulbs with the liatris, I think. I can't remember, but it's just such a pretty, pretty flower. Look at that. And then there's more buds. Now, when this flower dies back, I want to clip that off. And then here is either Physostesia or a white campanula. And if it's the white campanula, I really do need to get rid of it because it's going into my lawn. I don't want that. And then here's some more mini irises. And this here, I cannot remember. I think it's a type of a baby's breath. Another dahlia. This is a penstemon, which is kind of like a biannual, and it'll get a white, light pink kind of flower. So that's kind of pretty. Another ranunculus. This here is catmint, and it took a hit in wintertime. You can kind of see how it's just growing along the edges, and this whole part here, that used to be all beautiful foliage. So I got a problem there. Maybe this summer it'll come back. So let's go on to the next spot. So here we have some more of the Virginia. We've got some hen and chicks. And for the first time ever, I've had lavender seed itself. Never had that happen before. Here's another lavender plant, and you can see like this part is coming back, but this part here is all dead from winter kill. So I'm going to come back out here and clip through the dead parts. Lavender, like Russian sage, they're in the evergreen family, so you really never want to clip them back entirely because they may not recover, kind of like a Christmas tree. You cut it once and the stump stays there. I've got another huckleberry. This is a Gaillardia, and it's a burgundy style. And this here I planted from seed. I believe it's called a convolvulus or something. I'll have to look up the name. Here's another tulip that's dying back. And then here, this is a crane's bill, or they call it a perennial geranium, I believe. Magenta. I also have a light pink and a light lavender variety, but they're much, much smaller. I think this might be a purple coneflower, I think. Here's another kind of a cool sedum right here. That's just a zinnia that I planted. Some more of the crane's bill. And then you're kind of getting the idea. I've got another dahlia, another love in the mist. And then this whole area here, I'm almost embarrassed to show you, but I think every gardener has a spot that's going to be a work in progress. And this is one that I wanted to get through last year, but because of that injury, I couldn't. This has creeping phlox mixed with ladybells, mixed with lilies, mixed with cranesbill, mixed with tulips. Ugh. So I'm going to probably have to go in here with a fork and lift it and pull the things that I don't want out. Oh, it's also got spiderwort in it. Spiderwort is this plant right here. And it's kind of hard to get rid of. And that's what I'm trying to do slowly, is just get rid of it. It doesn't stay in one area. It spreads all over the place. That's more garlic. These here were all planted with something called bubblies or bubbles. And that's actually like the seed garlic. So for those, you plant them for 3 years. And then on the 4th year, you're able to harvest to eat them. So each year I plant them, I harvest them when their foliage dies back, I put them away, and I go through that cycle for 3 years. So this is their 3rd year. Next year I'll be able to use them for food. This here is another echinacea mixed with a lily. And you're probably thinking, why do you plant things so close? I don't. Anything that's got a bulb is fair game to the critters, and they move stuff around however they want. It's a challenge. This here is French peony. It's on the tail end of blooming. It was a burgundy color, as you can see. Here's some more of the spiderwort. The spiderwort, the other cool thing about that, for those who you who do have space, is that it will change color with the barometric pressure. I thought that's kind of cool. This big bush here is a honeysuckle. And I'm kind of sorry that I planted it here. It got so big, but I'm going to prune it up this year to shape it. I did that about 5 years ago, and it really helped the plant. Down here, this is another gaillardia, and I believe that's more like gaillardia that went to seed. This here is another fall aster. Oh, spider web. This one gets white. This here is a type of a centaurea, and this will get pink flowers. So probably by the next video, this will be blooming. This is a variegated Jacob's ladder, and my mom actually won this on a silent auction at a botanical garden. And after she passed away, my dad kind of went on a rampage, killing everything that she had planted. I think it was just out of anger and loneliness, and that was just his reaction. And then I did find this. This and a couple irises were the only things that I was able to salvage. He had things sprayed with Roundup and covered in plastic, and then he already had junk on top of it. Like I wasn't going to notice. So when he went and did his things, I went out there and I moved back the plastic and I started digging around. I did find it, so I brought it home here. I do have some milkweed here growing, and that's mainly for the monarchs. And here's another creeping phlox that's fading. This is a balsam. It's an annual. I planted this in the house. It's in the impatient family. Not that it needs shade, but it behaves like a patient temperature-wise. Here's a lavender plant that did pretty good over winter. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 blueberries. This one here I planted this winter in the house. I did a video with that one, and it did flower in the house, but I don't think that I pollinated properly. I just took off one flower and pollinated the remaining ones. So we'll see if I actually get a blueberry. I don't expect any blueberries. I don't expect any blueberries for about 3 years, actually. Here we've got another lavender, and this one's slowly coming back. And then what else is different here? Another purple penstemon. This whole area is another area that I've got to work on. I've got to lift this with a fork and keep just the mini irises and get rid of the rest, because it's that ladybell stuff that just is so invasive. And then I've got, this is moonbeam coreopsis, so it gets like a little yellow flower. And then here's some more annuals that I planted. That's the Lady Phacelia, a zinnia. I did put in a liatris here. There's some love in the mist. More blue fescue. More lemon thyme. And what else was here that I wanted to show you? Oh, I just put a ranunculus in here. Let's go around the outside edge. Here again, this is for more so for the monarchs than anything else. This, I believe, I seeded years ago. It gets a tiny orange flower. It's really cute. It's said to be oregano, but it never smells like oregano to me. So I don't know, but it's got a cute flower, so it lives on. Another dahlia, and remember in Wisconsin we have to dig those up in fall, otherwise the winter kills them. Another ranunculus right here. I gotta come back out and water some more. We're supposed to be getting rain this afternoon. Here is a sedum. I like this purple color. Sedums are kind of in the succulent family, so they don't need water. They're excellent in rock gardens. And believe it or not, almost every sedum has a flower on it at some point. So for those people who have a place up north, but they say they can't have any flowers up there because they're not up there long enough to, water or often enough to water, sedum is an excellent choice of a perennial, and moss rose is an excellent choice of an annual, FYI. This here is called Snow in Summer. And I just kind of like this because it's got such a sage-colored foliage with these striking white flowers. So from a distance, I mean, look at how that just stands out. It's almost like a neon white. Here is a sedum campshaticum, and this will get yellow flowers on it. This is my baby's breath. This is one of the original plants from when I moved here and added this flower bed. So this is a 20-year-old plant. I would say every other year it becomes a casualty to a bad storm and it'll break. But by that time it's already done flowering or just about finished flowering. So at least I got to enjoy it. I've got some more creeping phlox here that's just finishing up. So here's my Russian sage, and it kind of looks like it's dead, but you can kind of see down here, this is why you don't give up on your plants. You know, it looks terrible up here, but here's the growth down here, and we'll give it some time, and then this new growth is going to become stalks like this. I've got a little hosta here. I put 3 hosta in last year up front. There's the other one kind of right over there. They're kind of struggling, but you know, last year I really needed to get in here and weed more, but with that injury it just kicked me out of the garden, and now everything is even more of a challenge. This is the crane's bill, that's the pink right here. So you can see it's just starting to flower. And the purple crane's bill, I've been watching for it. I don't think it made it over winter. And that's kind of a surprise because these are some of the original plants. So this is like a 20-year-old plant. Here's another hosta mixed in with a wild carrot. Got to do something about that. Here I have an oak tree. I got to do something about that. By now, the root on this is probably close to 18 inches for that size of an oak tree. I pull these out kind of a lot. Here are 2 more Russian sage. So from the top, you know, they look dead. And they're kind of crispy. You can kind of hear that. But down here, right here, that's the growth. Same thing on that one. You can see the new growth right here. So that's another reason why you just don't cut this part back until the other growth starts. And then let's see, here's another one of those plants that allegedly is supposed to be like an oregano. Unless whatever variety this is, maybe as the plant matures, it gets to have more of a oregano flavor, but it's got really cute little orange flowers, like really tiny little orange flowers. So I just let it go. Creeping phlox with a resident anthill. Got to do something about that. This here is another type of a sedum. It's an autumn joy, but it gets a pink flower and some more lilies. And then we're just kind of like right back to where we started. So we only have one more little area to go to. So let's go see that one next. I actually had 2 areas I wanted to show you. This is Siberian iris, and I just have this here under a window. This side of the house faces the neighbors, so they have actually something nice to look at. It's kind of got a real tiny wispy leaf compared to other irises. And then the flower, you know, that you can tell that looks like an iris. I don't know if these come in other colors, and I picked these up when you're at a village-wide rummage sale. And I think the little pot was like $4. So that is a Siberian iris. So this last little area here is right by the garage. So right now I'm in front of the garage, which faces the road, which faces south. And here I had some creeping phlox. The center here kind of got beat up, and I think it just was in a high traffic area during the rummage sale. And I think it was just maybe accidentally stepped on a couple times. I'm not going to cut it out of there. I think it's going to come back just fine next year. I didn't get into weeding here yet. This here is an autumn joy sedum. This is the lollipop lily. This rose is called Manitoba, and it'll get a nice, really pretty pink flower. I've had this rose bush for, wait, that truck. I've had this rose bush for probably 15 years. And in this area here, this gets piled up with snow and ice. So I'm always surprised that it comes back so nicely. The thing with roses is they are victims to bug damage. So I just have a little spray bottle of dish soap diluted down with water. And then I just come out here and I spray the plant, I don't know, maybe once or twice a week. If it rains, then I come out and I respray it. And I just keep that little bottle right around the corner there. I've got a couple of irises here. And then in this area here, this is more like an herbal area. Got marshmallow, plantain. This here is just either, again, it's either a trumpet vine or a honeysuckle. And when I bought this place, the garage had damage. Right here, you can see that. Now they have siding up in the rafters in the garage. I thought, oh, all I got to do is change out the siding. But this is so sun faded compared to the other. It almost looks like it's whole, like two different color schemes. This is just ornamental corn that I planted. Again, some marshmallow and plantain right here. Sunflowers, either I planted or the chipmunks. And I know I did plant some ornamental sunflowers, but I can't remember if I planted them here. Here's another sedum, more plantain. This is St. John's wort, and I grew this from seed last year. St. John's wort is nice for like arthritis and depression. But with St. John's wort, you have to take it and let it build up in your system, which takes several weeks. So I know a lot of people, for a while, there was all the rage on TV about, oh, just use St. John's wort for depression. So people who were on medication for depression, people with a fragile mentality for one reason or another, maybe they're at a bad point in their life, or maybe there's a chemical imbalance where they need to be on medication, they were quitting their medication and taking this, and this was not doing anything for them right away. And there was a lot of blowback because of the way St. John's wort was presented to the public. I grow it mainly because I like to infuse it into an oil, and they make a salve because it's supposed to be good for arthritis. So that's why I use it. Some more ornamental corn, a random columbine. I'm sure Jamie is going to be like, Janelle, get that out of there. Here's another sedum, more plantain and marshmallow. I think this might be a verbascum. I can't be sure though. I've got a mini iris here, and I never planted any lilies here, but these are really looking like lilies. So I'm letting them go to see what they are. And then I've got a purple penstemon, balsam, another sedum, and then my daylily. So that kind of wraps up my tour here. You can kind of just see this area looks like it's really shaded, but remember it's only like about 6:30 in the morning right now. So as the sun comes up, we're going to see more. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. Kind of gives you an idea of the things that we can grow here in Northeast Wisconsin. You know, and we do have hard winters, so all of us, we experience winter kill. Sometimes at my plant sale, I have people like, do you have any bee balm? And actually, I do have bee balm up front. I forgot to show you that, but it did take a hit over winter, so I'm not sure if it's really going to come back real nice. But anyway, I hope you found this informative. Please like, follow, share, subscribe, tell all your friends, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.